Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Laureate podcast presented to you by the GSMC Podcasting Network. Thank you for tuning in to the Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. Today we have a little bit of a review about the big Monday Night Raw. There's so much to unpack and so little time. And we also have WWE NXT on tonight. I believe it's currently airing here on the West Coast. Well, I think it already aired on the East Coast, but we'll still talk about it. And also, I have a little bit of wrestling news, like Drew McIntyre's contract, along with other WWE superstars' contracts, are gonna be ending up here. So they better sign these guys. And also, just to kind of cap it off, we have a little bit of Raquel Rodriguez information, and that. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. Well, before we get started here, so we get a number of questions on the show. So to ensure that your questions get read on air, I ask you to use the tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Just put your question at the top of the list so we can have like a nice little conversation about wrestling, because I know y'all like wrestling like I do. You know what I mean? Or else, why else would you be here? Unless you're like a newbie, unless you're like, checking out the podcast for the first time. In that case, as a member of a wrestling family, welcome to the family. Capiche? I don't know, kind of like an Italian, like mafia family there. But anyways, so like I said, just put your question on top so I can see it. It also really helps the show. Send a positive, nice little review, a positive comment here at the GSMC Podcasting Network. We like a little bit of peace, love, and positivity. And again, the link is the gsmcpodcast.net. So, all right, let's get to it. So, our first segment today, we're going to cover Monday Night Raw. There was just so much information that it was just, oh man, when I was watching it, and I kind of had my notepad right next to me, and I just kept finding myself like writing things down, like I don't know, it's to the point where maybe it was a little too much, but there was just so much to unpack. So let's just get started. The beginning of Raw, it opens up with Jimmy and Jey Uso. I touched a little bit on the last podcast that they are opponents at WrestleMania. Jey basically told his brother that his dream match is to fight against his brother. Like, of course, like whose dream match is not that? Like growing up as a kid, me and my brothers loved wrestling, and we used to wrestle on the bed and do tag team, we were DX and the Hardy Boys and stuff like that. But excuse me. But I don't know. This is kind of like a dream come true for like any wrestling family that's ever entered the business or the organization of like any wrestling, honestly. AEW, WCW, NWA, WWF back in the day, ECW. Of course, it's the passion for wrestling that's inside the family that's pretty good. But I don't want, I have a lot to cover. So, Jimmy was pretty adamant on telling Jey that the reason why he's had such an illustrious career was because of his big brother, which isn't true per se. They were tag team, champions. Like, obviously, you rely like a lot on your tag team partner to kind of help you, kind of propel you, and you kind of have each other's backs. And on top of it, your brothers. So I think that's like the best experience a tag team could have is knowing your, partner since you're in diapers, so they're twins. So and that, but so and the promo ends with Jey getting beat up by Jimmy and Solo, but then out comes Cody Rhodes to kind of help Jey with with the whole bloodline thing. And later on in the show, actually, Jey confronted Cody and tell him that, hey, dude, like I got your back. And he honestly doesn't believe that Roman Reigns is gonna be alone on Friday Night SmackDown, which I kind of agree with that fact. I don't think he's gonna come alone. Why would he come alone? Especially after all the mess, like all the talk that Cody just said about The Rock. Like, oh, it was a doozy. It was a doozy. Explicit language that I can't really say on air, but I'll try to church it up as best as possible. Just kidding. Um, but moving on, the next match was the Creed brothers in a qualifying match for the six-pack tag team ladder match challenge over at WrestleMania. You had the Creed brothers versus DIY, and this was a really good match. I really wanted to see the Creed brothers kind of come out on top, but instead, it was Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, doing what they do best. They're a great tag team. They've always had been ever since NXT, and they've kind of have like they've had a history with Damian Priest and Finn Balor, so I think that kind of adds on to that. So I'm happy that DIY won, but I like the Creed brothers, for future WWE like tag team championship contendership. Um, all right, moving on. Candice LeRae came out and she still has that unhinged, like no filter. I'm gonna be a total jerk and a total B word to these guys, and like it's to the point where her own partner, Indy Hartwell, just kind of looks at her. She's like, "Dude, like, what is up?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, whenever you go, like, hang out with friends, and there's always that one friend that's ripping on the other guy, and you're like, oh, you're laughing at first. But then, like, he just keeps doing it, and he just keeps getting personal and more personal and more personal to the point where it's like a fight breaks up and everything explodes, and everybody, like, is yelling at each other. And at the end of the night, you ended up, like, crying in each other's arms. But, I don't know, that's what kind of parties I be having. I'm sorry. No, not like that. That was back in the day. That was back in the day. Anyways, so Candice LeRae's kind of on this like little kick that where she's kind of heading toward like a heel, which is cool because obviously this babyface aspect of it isn't really working for her right now. So I don't know. Maybe a heel, she can step up into bigger and better things. Obviously, she has the talent. You've seen her in NXT. Um, it's just I don't know what's gonna happen to Indy Hartwell, but I don't know if they fight the Kabuki Warriors for the women's tag team championships. I would honestly, really, really, honestly love to see that at WrestleMania. I think that'd be pretty cool. All right, moving. Okay, now we're getting to the Cody Rhodes addresses the WWE Universe about The Rock. Oh man. So he started off calling him an a-hole. He also called him a whiny little bee, and Cody came out firing, man. I was hoping for this reaction, and I kind of got it, so I'm kind of pleased with this reaction. It was so attitude era-esque. Cody, like, he has that demeanor on him that he's professional, and no matter what you say, he's gonna be a professional. He's gonna let you unravel while you just kind of create this turmoil within yourself, cursing someone's name. Kind of like, the more you get under someone's skin, the more it kind of shows, and other people kind of demonstrate it on different levels. The more aggressive someone gets, you can kind of like, I don't know if Cody's taking pride in that. Like, yeah, the great one, the people's champ. I got under his skin. I'm the one that pushed him to break out of character and start talking but and Cody actually did mention The Rock's mom, but nowhere near the way that The Rock was talking about Cody's mom. But that was pretty crazy. He called him a crybaby, and he said he's Roman Reigns' side chick, which is that hurts a little bit. Knowing that you're below your cousin. Although I don't think The Rock thinks of himself under Roman Reigns or thinks that he has less talent, but I don't know. It's just when he said that, it was so powerful. I liked it. And also, he also said The Rock has LDS. I'm not gonna, translate that. If you know, you know. If you don't, Google it. Well, I don't, but no, he came out, throwing some heavy haymakers here, so it's going to be a good match. Hopefully hopefully the momentum keeps coming and nothing bad happens sort of where we're like all this momentum. The fans are very invested in this match, and I gotta be honest, I am too. Like, I want to see these guys duke it out. Like, not just The Rock and Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. This is gonna be pretty electric. If Cody Rhodes doesn't win the title at WrestleMania, there's gonna be a riot, dude. It's gonna be a crazy, crazy riot. But I don't know. I'm kind of mixed in the middle. Like, I like Roman. I've always liked Roman ever since his Shield days. But I don't know. So the Judgment Day put a pressure on Dirty Dom to kind of go out there and kind of prove his worthiness to the group against Ricochet. And Ricochet, like he did to McDonough, he beat Dom. Obviously, like Ricochet's a lot better than the Judgment Day gives him credit for. but I love watching Ricochet. I don't know. Like I just kind of hope that wrestling they do something. The WWE does something with his character because he's really really fun to watch. Honestly, um, and his talent is, oh my god, it's so disregarded. Like I said, like watching his matches, kind of like watching like poetry in motion. Kind of like watching Jeff Hardy without the with the body abuse. Like you know what I mean? Like Ricochet, he constantly puts his body on the line just for the entertainment of the fans. And I just hope that Ricochet doesn't get brushed under the rug or signed with a different company, all because WWE couldn't come up with a good, you know, thorough, legitimate storyline for him. That would be absolutely devastating. All right, next we have a confrontation between Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, where Chad Gable basically was pleading his case to Sami that this was his only shot at WrestleMania, and both of them actually had a chance to fight Gunther. I don't know where Chad Gable comes off telling Sammy that he basically said he's not a worthy competitor, and that's a way to hurt someone's confidence 2 weeks before like the biggest match of your life. But Chad Gable, he said that to Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn was, he was hurt. He was hurt. Like you can sense the sincerity in his face, and like I don't know, just in his voice. But he went out and they did the contract signing with Gunther, and Sami Zayn was I don't know, he stuck up for himself. He did what he's the underdog. David versus Goliath. This is the whole match that the WWE is trying to kind of help, right on the precipice of either Sammy's career taking off or Gunther's career kind of like it would never go down. I think it'll be like at a stagnant, but I would want to see Gunther challenge probably Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre for the next, contenders, especially when it's at the Bash at Berlin. I think like, Gunther fighting for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship would be pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Or if Cody wins, and if Roman doesn't, invoke his rematch clause, maybe he can fight for the WWE Championship. Who knows? Um, so just a little side minor note that Triple H is going to be on the Pat McAfee show. That was announced. And also CM Punk is going to be there at Monday Night Raw next week. So prepare for that if you're a CM Punk guy, teach your own. Next, I kind of want to talk about how Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins, these mind games and everything like that. But the thing that I kind of wanted to, kind of pinpoint is that Sammy, no, not Sammy, sorry. Seth, like, he said something that was actually pretty darn true. That Drew McIntyre, he did have his WrestleMania spotlight, and he had his WWE Championship reign, but it was during COVID. It was during when they were having just like pay-per-views at the Thunderdome where there were like little like tablets with people's faces on them and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, like I feel kind of bad for Drew because I feel like once when the pandemic happened, it was kind of like a thing for WWE creative and Vince McMahon to be like, okay, now let's take a chance on this guy and see where it goes. And as soon as the fans started crawling back into the building, as soon as procedures and protocols for COVID were diminishing because of the vaccine, um, it was never the same for Drew, and I feel kind of bad because he's good to watch. He's a good heel. He's also a good baby face. So I think I don't know. It's nice to have that kind of guy in your back pocket. Um, Alpha Academy, Tozawa noticed. I don't know why it wasn't Chad Gable noticed, but they lost to the New Day, so the New Day will join not the Creed Brothers, the DIY and Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Also, you had the Miz and the R-Truth, the Awesome Truth, qualifying for a spot at the six pack ladder match at WrestleMania. So that should be, those are three teams from Raw that are gonna do pretty darn well. And I don't know if you're Damian Priest or Finn Balor, I would be pretty scared right now because I think I don't know. There's so much talent in the ring that it'd be so hard. It'd be so hard to just retain your titles and just kind of go on being this whole unstoppable tag team thing. But hey, who knows? And lastly, we had our last women's standing match, which was pretty darn entertaining. It was 30 minutes long, which I kind of like because it seems like sometimes when they have the women's main event, they kind of like to cut it short. But no, it was 30 minutes long. It included tables, ladders, and chairs, and of course the fire extinguisher. But oh man, Nia Jax had Becky Lynch pretty much beaten, and then Becky rolled out of the ring, landing on her 2 feet. We're kind of hurdling the apron a little bit there, landing on the side of the ring, basically saving her butt. So Nia Jax is right there, guys. Nia Jax, she's as much as a women's champion competitor as Becky Lynch or Liv Morgan, or even Bianca Belair, and maybe even Jade Cargill. But I don't know. We'll see how that all works out. Becky Lynch, she won the match by leg dropping Nia Jax through the announce table. It was pretty darn entertaining. It's a good match to watch. If you haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's like right there. But all in all, it was a pretty good women's last standing match. All right. Well, don't go anywhere. Hope you like segment 1. For segment 2, we have a little NXT preview. So don't go anywhere.